Hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another setting of Living World of Darkness. This time it's werewolf venue, where Simon, or Grand Eternal Rest, as he's known in the nation, as well. After spending time, he came late to the fight, but thanks to his lumen spirit, has healed some of the Fianna folk, and will then make his way to a certain cabin where he knows there's a certain, normally people of a certain pack. There's someone that he wants to talk to, so he'll come, and when he gets to the Strider's pack, he'll knock on cabin. He'll knock on the door.
There's a few seconds silence before you hear someone just getting off a chair. You just hear it get pushed out, and then you hear familiar footsteps on wood. Head towards the door. You just see the door open.
When can he see Jacob right away, or is Jacob like behind the door?
Oh yeah, no, Jacob opens the door, so you see you see what is an obvious Silver Fang standing in front of you, because Silver Fang, smell of Silver Fang pretty much constantly.
Yeah, he'll show throat and belly. Where is Bane, Raya?
I'm just trying to think, how long has Tunnel been around, because his deed name has been stripped of him. Sorry, it's the overlay.
No, that's right. Sorry. He know the other deed name because he's been there, like, hasn't been a month.
Jacob held it out, so you'd know when he came back about a month ago. So you would know that he no longer has the deed name once been.
So yeah, what's the deed name now?
He's just called Jacob Clay. Doesn't have a deed name.
Oh, okay, see, okay, because Jacob Clay, Raya.
He kind of looks down at you, all a bit surprised. Yes. What can I do you for?
We met the other day at hospital, but it was kind of brief, and I was a little out of it with the nightmares we had back then.
Right, yeah, shame we couldn't have met under better circumstances. I don't believe we've been introduced properly.
No, I don't believe we have. Simon Frost grants eternal rest. Child of Gaia, born on 2 legs under a full moon, clears of the nation, and as of a few days ago, guardian of the Sept of the Green.
Oh, congratulations. He kind of gestures for you to stand up, because it's kind of weird that you're saying this on your belly. Jacob doesn't want to patronize.
Yeah. He'll get back up. So, I've been meaning to, still kind of new around here, so still trying to meet new people. And if I'm, of course, you're here, you're part of the Striders of Ice and Concrete.
Yep, but I am recently accepted a new member in Cat J.
I heard I'll have, to congratulate her when I next see her. But, yes, I've met with your Alpha a few times. It seems we have quite a few things in common.
Interesting. Although I'd be remiss if I were to have this conversation by a doorway. Would you like to come in?
Yes, please, and he'll smile. and he'll like come in.
Yeah, he'll just like a small. It's not a massive cabin, so there's a small dining area, and just outside the kitchen, and he'll just begin making himself some tea. Anything you'd like?
Um, I think it's. I guess yeah. Actually, if there's beer.
Jacob will rummage around for it because he doesn't actually drink alcohol, so he'd have no idea where it is. He does find it because if there's one thing Jacob knows about the rest of the Striders, is that they have alcohol. So beer is definitely in the building. Just takes him about a minute of looking for it, and he's like, fucking finally.
Thank you, and he'll pop it open.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, actually, there's been also something you should know. You're probably aware, but there's been quite a few very strange things happening last few days, yesterday and today. Well, 2 days ago and today.
Yeah, up until recently, apparently it was a full about 7 days worth of people having nightmares. Not that I noticed, but as soon as that ends, I feel like the clouds begin to clear. All the leeches in the city start eating each other and everything in sight. It's concerning.
That, and we seem to be having, and he'll think, don't know, maybe illusions, seems something like that.
I wouldn't know much about that.
Well, I was actually with Felix, Shinlo, and your Alpha a few 2 days ago when we saw a giant snake, and when it was killed, it was just a car. And just today, I ran to help, but people had killed it before I got here. But there was a giant, and you'll see he's like thinking about it and realizing how crazy it sounds as he said. There was a giant dragon at the Fianna Castle in the Tellurian. A dragon in the Tellurian.
That I did hear about.
Yeah, lots of strange shit going on.
Considering this is happening in accordance with all the leeches losing their collective minds, it wouldn't surprise me if the same power was behind all of these events, or if it's the leeches themselves.
Don't know much about leeches, but from what I've heard, there was a leech riding the dragon, so maybe leeches can make these things happen, or maybe, I don't know.
As someone who knows a fair bit about the kindred, their abilities in a societal structure, I don't recall the leeches having the capacity to summon dragons, although I've heard they can control animals and even become them under very specific situations. But summoning a dragon seems a bit out of sorts even for them.
Well,
So I reckon some alternate power is almost certainly at work here.
yeah, I think it will have to be looked into. I think your Alpha seems to know quite a bit about dragons too, about vampires too.
Yeah, she's the one who taught me what I know on them. She's perhaps the most educated person on the sept regarding them. But we'll see. And it appears the leeches are devouring each other as much as they're devouring everything else around them. It might not be a problem we have to worry about for too long if they keep up at the current rate, especially if we get involved.
Or
I could
not.
see them all being dead within a week. Does concern me though. Why would they devour each other? Why would the worm do that?
Mm. We ourselves sometimes lose control and go after one another. Even we don't have it for days on end. But
not in this sense though. This is almost a perpetual state of frenzy they're in whenever they wake up at night. It's not normal even for us, and leeches are generally more controlled than we.
they should be, but they're creatures of the worm. Who knows how they work?
I mean, I do. But that's a fair point. Could perhaps be the influence of the urgeworms. Could be sacrificing one branch of the worm's power, in this case the leeches, to empower another, but this is unusual.
Definitely.
Especially since for the leeches to wipe each other out like this, the worm stands to lose a lot in the short and the long term. But as he stated, it is not exactly a single mind, it is many minds. Often acting in contradiction to one another.
But yeah, I'd say the closest thing that the closest pet I can have would be some kind of permanent frenzy.
It's not unheard of. Sometimes a leech does lose himself to the manifestation of the one within him, but for so many to fall to their so-called beasts in this way is unusual. It's, well, with what little knowledge I've possessed, it has never happened. It is something that happens to an individual, not to a group. So and it's a long, subtle process. It's not sudden. That is perhaps the most telling fact here. This is spontaneous. This is not a gradual process of a kindred losing their. Oh, sorry, he wouldn't call them a kindred. Sorry, a leech losing their mind over years, decades, or however long it might take. This happened within a week. That doesn't happen. That's considering how they function, how they fundamentally work. That shouldn't be possible.
Quite strange, but yeah. Even if it ends soon, I think it's a good idea if we can know as much as we can about it. The better you know the enemy, the more chances you have against it.
I'm split on it. On one hand, leeches are committing atrocities on the street. On the other, the worm is effectively destroying itself. That said, you're right, it's probably best if this ends sooner rather than later.
I just hope the kinfolk will be alright.
Have you claimed any kinfolk?
I have kinfolk that were my family that were here before I got here.
OC, I'm basically asking if you have kinfolk dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he has. So yeah, he has one, but it was like people that were here before he got here.
Well, then I recommend if they already don't know how to defend themselves, you teach them very quickly. Have them live within the same house if possible. It's easier to defend yourself if you're in a group. And have some means of defending against leeches. They fear and are vulnerable to fire in particular. And of course sunlight, but that's not really going to be something you can rely on considering they're active at night.
So fire.
Oh, and make sure if they're going to shoot them or, well, specifically shoot them in the head. Bullets don't really seem to have an impact on them, but they're vulnerable to being decapitated. The heart can't function without the mind, and the mind can't function without the heart. They can't. The heart is the source of their power, you see. So they can't regenerate. Their head can't regenerate the rest of their body if they don't have a heart connected to it. But a heart without a mind behind it can't do anything at all. So the body just ashes due to the contradiction.
You'll nod. I never used a gun before, but well, I'll be able to teach them how to use well.
Cutting weapons
Maybe a
tend to
weapon.
be more effective, but in the case of kinfolk, I would recommend them being at a distance from leeches.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, they're liable to end up wound up, drained dry, and no one wants that.
But yeah, I mean, for the moment, I ask them to always be inside at home when it was dark, and I have them ringing me every 6 hours. And I spend every lunchtime with them.
Wise. Seems the danger only appears to come out at night, so at least during the day it seems fairly calm. Although I wonder where all of these, for lack of a better word, cleanup agents are coming from.
Yeah, seems strange that it hasn't made the news. People seem, well, the humans at least seem to have forgotten what goes on in the streets every day.
With my knowledge, I believe I know what is doing that. As they have a vested interest in keeping everything quiet, but I didn't know their reach stretched quite that far.
He'll nod. Yeah, if they can make an entire city forget such events, yeah, that's something that's scary.
They can make individuals forget things. Certain leeches, anyway. It's not a universal skill set they have. They can make people forget things, alter memories. What concerns me is that they've managed to get everyone to ignore this for such on a citywide scale, which, well, speaks more to their how far their fangs are stuck into the city's government and business.
Yeah, and it looks like they have people everywhere. People, and he'll look at him. Knowing he's a cop, they probably, well, no, I'd say they most definitely have people working with you.
Oh, I absolutely am aware. In fact, I believe I found one of their kind, but removing him is going to be a difficult process. That's the problem with leeches. They're very smart. They know how to play the political game, so it's a lot more difficult than just cut it open and kill it. They'll deal through proxies, and their proxies are often quite entrenched. And even if you do get rid of one, well, at the end of the day, we're just trading one pawn for another. We could, let's say, kill a police captain, one guy gets promoted, and then they enslave that guy the next. So we're just delaying, we're just hampering them slightly for a short time. And even if a different leech enslaves them, what that may mean something to the individual leech. At the end of the day, it's no different to us. A leech has its hands in corrupting city officials, which is bad either way. It doesn't matter what leech is doing it. So they're very difficult to dislodge. takes a long time, especially if they don't make mistakes. Fortunately, the ones I'm dealing with the proxies I'm dealing with seem to be quite foolish. Put on a wonderful display of police corruption, but a few months ago during a protest regarding Enron Oil. Looks like Irish mobsters had been bribed to disrupt the protest, make it look like they were criminals and anarchists. They were arrested pretty quickly, but it appears one of the police captains had other ideas and had me dropped them off at the Harlem precinct, where they were promptly released.
How odd.
I'm aware of the alias that's bribing the official, however, so that is something that will slowly handle itself. But for the moment, I'm simply building up a profile. I'm down low. I don't want to risk tipping them off and having them go to ground or cleaning up their act, or just stopping my investigation before it begins.
If they're organized and if they know how to play the political game, you definitely want to stay down low. I mean, it sounds like someone high up. They probably have people high up in the police and in the government.
It wouldn't surprise me if my face was known to them, but as of yet, I've made no gestures to hamper them. So it also wouldn't surprise me if they didn't know who I was. The only leeches I've dealt with in person or in any substantive fashion, even via proxy, are all dead.
Well, obviously they're back now, strangely.
Well, there are always going to be leeches in the city. The ones we were after are the ones that like to go after us. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but you'd probably have seen their symbol even if you haven't recognized it around the city. It's an inverted ankh. It's to look like a sword. Call themselves the Sabbat.
Yeah, I never encountered them before, but I saw them on the news before I got here. There was a lot of things happening here.
Yeah, a spectacular breach of the veil for them to even do such things. But we've destroyed their main leaders, their most powerful. Well, I wouldn't call them a pack, but there's not really a great word for it. A gang, I guess, of about 4 leeches. The most active and most powerful have been destroyed. It was part of Teresa's Adrian challenge, which she succeeded in.
Well, at least that's one good thing.
Just seems another group of leeches have now began losing their collective minds, but one thing at a time, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, first making first priority, the way I see it, is making sure that our kinfolk are safe.
Pretty much. So I haven't made overtures to attack them yet. I want to make sure my kin are safe and sound. Although considering these leeches seem to be in a perpetual state of, well, for lack of a better term, frenzy, doesn't seem like they're going to be doing a lot of exploring. More directionlessly running around like a chicken with its head cut off. So as long as our kin remain safe and indoors and well equipped, they shouldn't be in too much danger. But there's always the off chance that a leech ends up running up the stairs of an apartment building and trying to smash down the doors. But,
yeah.
Oh, I'd also recommend that if your kin live in homes and not apartment buildings, they use floodlights, security lights. Sun leeches can hide themselves from view via manipulation of the mind, they can make it so that you don't believe they're there. You just ignore them. You just tune them out. You don't even acknowledge them. They're for all intents and purposes invisible. But that doesn't. But it's only a mental trick. It's not. It's not a. It's not like an actual illusion, right? Like what you might have been talking about with the dragon.
Yeah, he'll nod.
So if they move within the proximity of a floodlight, the floodlight will still activate because it doesn't fool technology, because technology reacts to motion. It doesn't have a mind to trick. Same thing goes for technology. You can use technology such as security cameras to figure out where these leeches are hiding or skulking around in. But floodlights and alarm systems work particularly well. For example, you know how those shops, some shops, like little shops, have bells when you open the door? It's a very good way for breaking their mental disguise, because it brings notice to them.
Yeah,
Which
you'll see
oftentimes is enough.
when Jacob explains that, it's like something clicks. That would explain the events of the other night. The ones I told you where there was a giant snake.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I've never heard of
apparently,
them doing something like that before, of being able to disguise a place, but I have heard of them hiding themselves and disguising themselves, but perhaps this is simply a new trick they're just showing us now.
it seems, from what you're saying, it seems to work the same way. In the alleyway just next to it, where a puma of everything had been crushed into the alleyway, we saw a bunch of red eyes and claws. But when Felix put his camera to it, and then we did the same, the camera showed nothing.
Hmm.
The puma was still there though, which is weird. You
Yes,
don't normally see such big animals in New York. I mean, haven't been there long, but from what I and like chuckle from what I've seen in the movies, I don't think you guys have pumas running around everywhere.
Well, some leeches can control animals, and this city has a zoo, several, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if they broke into the zoo to get some empowered pets.
That, or and he'll think, can they? I don't know. It crossed into an alleyway, and then when he'll try to remember, no, but yeah, well, there was a leash in there too. So, and he had big dogs with him. So yeah, it looks like there was one of the ones that can control animals there.
Wouldn't surprise me. Certain kindred make it a habit of trying to, how to say, enhance their pets with their blood.
And he'll like price will just go up. Okay, that's kind of fucked up.
As are most things with a worm.
True.
That said, they're not necessarily creatures of a worm in the sense that you'd think. They're not Fomori. They're not possessed, as it were. It's more like they're afflicted. It's strange. From what I know of them, their activities seem erratic. They don't seem to actively go out of their way to serve the worm. It's just a lot of the time their actions end up benefiting it in some way. Oftentimes they'll end up benefiting the weaver more than the worm, from what I can tell. Because they feed on humans, of course, they need to feed on blood to survive. They are supporters of dense population centers and human institutions to hide themselves and garner themselves more power. So it is a strange thing. They're not simple. They're not direct servants like Fomori or Banes. if you understand what I mean. They're humans that have been afflicted with a curse, it would appear. So it doesn't appear they're possessed.
Well, good to know. I'll try and remember that.
I mean, it's probably one of a few reasons why we simply don't kill them on sight. It's probably why we're actually capable of negotiating with them, because in a sense they're not potentially fully fallen, although they're definitely along that road by the very nature of what they are. Many of them definitely smell heavily worm tainted.
Yeah.
I've never actually had an opportunity to smell one that hasn't, but they're definitely more worm tainted than people. Some of which are almost in a toxic sense.
Has it ever been tried to cleanse one?
Presumably it would end up in the same way as trying to cleanse a spiral or a bane. It would just result in pain. At the end of the day, they have been forcibly connected to the power of the worm. So at the end of the day, they're still a member of the enemy. And many of them embrace that fact, either knowingly or not.
They seem very, very particular creatures. They not direct servants of the worm, yet if you cleanse them, the same thing happens that would happen if you cleanse the direct server of the worm.
At the end of the day, the vast majority of them end up empowering the worm. So I wouldn't think too much on it. This is just me ruminating, I guess, on the possibilities of what they are on a more perhaps spiritual level.
Well, my first enemy are the black spiral dancers. Anyway, when I look around, one of the reasons why I said that you're alpha and I have things in common is we both have family members that joined the black spiral dancers. In my case, it was my brother.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he'll look down. Yeah, well, we were real close till he left, but yeah, I'll have to face him, or what's left of him. I don't really see him as my brother anymore. My brother died when he decided to go. When my brother died, and another black spiral dancer was born instead.
That's honestly the best way to think about it. There's nothing you can do for them at this point. And by the very nature of what dancing the spiral means, that is in many ways true. They simply die. It's like a twisted take on the rite of renunciation.
And he'll
which
not.
is most things wormish.
Yeah.
Twisted.
Seems like it. Oh, go ahead.
Well, at the end of the day, the worm cannot really create. It can only twist things that already exist.
Yeah. Well, it's the nature of the worm. The worm is not the creator. It's the opposite. Anyways, I don't think I'll let you go. You probably have things to do.
I'll have to be leaving the sept shortly for another sojourn. But yes, I appreciate the chat though. It's good getting to know you.
Yeah, I mean, you're like I said. I've talked to you Alpha a few times, and I know you guys are lacking in Arun. So, never know. I mean, I'm not going to join a pack just because you're missing an Arun, but I have to know the people.
At least you're honest in your intentions.
He'll smile. Yeah, I mean, don't know who I'll be joining yet, but I have to join people that I see eye to eye with. Well, and he'll smile. They'll always be fighting. We'll be a family. That's the whole point of the pack. But I have to be with people I get along with, people that I can see as family before I even enter the pack.
Same method I took. But regardless of who you join, I wish you luck either way.
And he'll nod. Thank you, Mariah. And he'll do the proper, Garu leaving thing, taking a few steps back, and then leaving the caravan.
Caravan? Cabin.
Cabin, sorry.
Still, Fangs don't live in caravans. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's so far the last station. It disgusts me.
That's like a renowned lost for Silver Fangs.
It's yeah, no, you lose renown for insulting a tribe. Jacob will simply wave you off, and then when you've walked off a fair distance, he'll simply close the door behind you and make preparations for his next trip over to the sept of the Sacred Heart, which you'll have to go to in but 24 hours.
Anyways, so well, thank you players for playing, and thank you watchers for watching. Good night.